Hey gamers, if you're looking for a meaty game all about economic success, then you might want to check out Asian Tigers. Let's take a look at how this game plays. In this game, players are investors sponsored by each of the 4 Asian Tigers, and their goal is to try and help the different markets flourish in order to achieve much desired success. Each player has their own board filled with infrastructures that they will be able to build in the 4 different regions throughout the game. They can build many of their generic infrastructures as laboratories or power plants or universities and subsequent departments. They can build factories as well to produce goods. They can build satellites to improve the scoring of some of their infrastructures as well. On each of their turns, player will have to place their next worker that is in the line there, and that worker might determine where they're able to place. For example, in this region here, if I wanted to place this worker in this section, I would have to be able to pay for them to be placed there, as you cannot have the same color worker in another section in the same area. When players place into one of the 4 regions, they are able to try and build those infrastructures, or if they don't want to go to a region to build, then they might be able to instead sell their goods. Players can come to the global market to sell their goods, again, as long as they are able to place their worker, as if there's already one of these white workers here, for example, a gray worker would have to go to one of the other sections. And if they're able to sell the necessary goods for the different flags, then they can collect those, which will be able to improve some of their scoring on their boards at the end of the game. This is a very high level overview of what's going on the board. Players will have to pay different costs in order to place workers in different regions, and as well as to build those infrastructures that we talked about. Again, players are trying to collect those flags to trigger some endgame scoring, but placing those on their board will determine what kind of scoring they'll be doing at the end of the game. They're trying to get their global market marker up higher so that they can have a better multiplier at the end of the game for some of those flags as well. There's definitely a lot going on in this game. This is just a kind of first glance at that, but you can check out the review on my website for a little bit more details on that. Like I said, what I kind of showed was just a glimpse of what this game has to offer. There is pretty good game flow overall. Like, you just place one worker on your turn every turn, and it's predetermined based on how those workers were pulled at the beginning of the era, how you're going to play them. But even though your choices are limited in a sense, because you can only place certain workers in certain areas as the round progresses, you still have so much choice, and even within where you're placing them, you have choice of what you might build or what you might sell or what you might do. So there's so much going on. It's a very, very meaty game, very strategic, and so much choice to be had. A lot of different paths that you can take, a lot of different ways that you can earn points, and in general, I would say that works really well because you can take different paths depending on your playstyle, but you can all kind of still end up pretty close at the end of the game within scores. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. If you don't like learning a lot of rules, if you don't like a lot of front loading, this probably isn't one for you. But if you don't mind having a heavy teach and having a lot of decision making throughout the game, you might have a little bit of longer turns here and there depending on what your options come down to. But as long as you don't mind that, then this is definitely a really solid game. There's a lot of really cool choices, really fun things to do with how you take your pieces off your board to get different bonuses and things like that. I really like that part in particular. That's something I'm always a really big fan of. So everything works together really well, kind of seamlessly. So I think that the game overall is a really, really cool one to check out if you like those heavier games. But you can check out my full thoughts on the blog today to decide if this one's for you.